Alright, this is a quick review on the 370 to 200 2.8 constant aperture lenses for the Canon mount. We'll be covering over more of the exterior and the build quality of the lenses, and I'll be taking some pictures with these at the end. You can take a look at the pictures, but I won't be going into depth with these too much, but you can examine the pictures yourself. Let's first start the price ranges of these lenses. The Tamron is the cheapest of the three, and the Sigma is about 100. I can't say the price exactly, but it is a little bit more expensive than the Tamron, and there is a bigger jump from the Sigma to the Canon lens in terms of price. Let's start with the Tamron. One thing I noticed immediately with this lens is that it is a little slimmer than in comparison to the other lenses, and it does seem more cheaply built. I mean, you are paying less, however, you are still paying quite a bit of money because none of these lenses are that cheap. This material they use to make the lens, it seem to be some type of plastic or some cheap material, because you can take a listen. It just feels really cheap and sounds cheap. And another thing that is significantly different in comparison to the other lenses is the autofocusing. It's not your traditional switch that you just off and on, but you move the whole focus ring. So right now, as you can see, I'm moving the focus ring. This is not moving. This is on automatic. You can see these small white and blue marks here. The blue is on manual. So how you do that is you push the whole focus ring down like that. And sometimes it's hard to lock in, but once it's locked in, it is fairly smooth. But once you hit the edges, the infinity, the maximum range of this focus, it just stops abruptly. It's not that pleasant feeling. It doesn't feel that secure. However, I find this very awkward, and it does sound cheap when you do this. It sounds, you can hear that. Anyhow, the focus ring, the zoom ring, does seem, again, cheap. It is the cheapest of the three, however, I would expect a little bit more at this price range. And all of these do come with the tripod mount, or this mount you get with the lens, because these three are all these lenses are quite heavy. The Tamron, the lens hood, we'll talk about later. However, the Tamron, this is the front element, we'll be going at, this is 70 to 200, 70 to 200. Nothing much to say there. Let's check out, here's the lens cap for this lens. One thing I really appreciate, which it's a really small thing actually, but Tamron is the only one of the three lenses that have this lens cap. It's the pinch, like in the center pinch. Because when you have a lens hood like this on your camera, and you do happen to have your lens cap on, it is extremely difficult to get a lens cap which is pinched on the outside. Canon is the same way. It's extremely hard to get there. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just a convenience. I think this is a small plus. Alright, let's check out the mount portion. Alright, the mount portion of this camera. It's a metal mount, which is good. You should be getting that at this price range. And the Tamron model has this element, this glass piece that has the only function of it is it being that it protects the inside of the lens from dust or water or what have you, to protect the inside of the lens, which is a definite plus. And you'll see this on all three of the lenses. And yeah, the mount part I'm very happy with. It does seem very well built. And moving on to the Sigma. We'll be talking about the lens hood later in the video. The Sigma one. First impressions, The weight, I believe Tamron is the heaviest of the three, I have to admit. The Sigma does seem more better built, and the focus ring does seem a lot smoother, also with the zoom ring. The focus ring is a little loose for my taste, but however, this is a used lens, so this may be due to the fact that it's just used and just been loosened up a lot. However, it is a lot smoother. And the one thing that I've noticed is on the Tamron, once you hit the infinity or the lowest focus, you can't, it just stops abruptly and you can't move anymore. The Sigma, you can keep going, but it gives you a lot more resistance, telling you that you're at your maximum. I would not advise you go beyond this anyway, but it's just a plus for me just to have that there. Anyhow, the build quality overall, it seems very nice. Sigma is does use this this material. It does feel like this. It feels kind of like rubbery, but it is a lot. It does feel a lot higher quality than the Tamron here. It does come, of course, comes with the tripod mount. We'll be talking about the lens hood again with the lens cap. The Tamron one is a pinch, whereas the pinch is inner. This one's the out. This is the front element of the Sigma. This is at, what is this? 70 to 200. 70 to 200. And let's check out the mount portion. Also, with this lens, if you compare this to the Nikon one, the Nikon does have the auto manual focus button on the body of the camera, so it doesn't have this. It does seem like they just mounted this. I don't like this at all. It kind of ruins the whole vibe of this, the build quality of this lens. It does seem like they just like nailed this piece on, whereas it's not incorporated into the body structure. If you like this Canon, it does seem a little bit. It is bolted on as well, or however you would phrase that, but it kind of flows, it kind of matches with the body of the lens. This one does seem like it doesn't even match the exterior of the lens. The small pet peeve of mine. Let's check out the mount portion. The mount does seem to be similar to the Tamron, metal. It does have the front glass element to protect it from elements. Nothing special. And lastly, the Canon. We'll be covering the lens later. Probably. Oopsie. Alright, there we go. The best, it feels the best in my opinion. It's just the sturdier material. However, it is the lightest, surprisingly. I thought it'd be one of the more heavier. The focus ring is smoother, a little bit more resistant than the others. However, it does seem to have that clicking, that clanking feeling when you hit the 70 to 200 maximum zoom range. When it comes to the focus ring, is definitely my favorite from the three. It's very smooth and it just feels great. Let's just switch for auto manual focusing. Feels sharp. Let's check out the front element. This is at 70 to 200, 70 to 200. And now let's check the mount portion. The mount portion, there's a difference between these two lenses. The mounts are quite similar with the metal mount and the glass on top, which is good. However, the one plus that Canon has is it seems like they made the lens a little deeper so that the elements pushed back into the lens more. So there's more space between the actual body of the camera and the lens. It does have the front element, as you can see, the front piece of glass to protect it from dust and water or what have you. But it also has a small felt lining within the mount portion, the inner mount portion of the lens, which catches dust and is a definite plus with the Canon lens. And one thing the Canon stands out significantly than the others is, of course, the exterior, the color, but it is weather resistant, meaning it can be out in harsh conditions, whereas these two I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing out to rainy weather or whatnot. This will be a speed test on the focusing speed and how fast these lenses can take pictures. We'll start with the Sigma. It's going to be at 70, and how we're going to do this is put it on manual and put it all the way to infinity, and then we'll take it from there. This is on ISO 500 and at aperture 2.8, and in 3, 2, alright, put it on manual, put it on infinity, and now we'll try it at 200. All the settings are the same, and in 3, 2, alright, that's the Sigma. This is taken by the Sigma at 70 f2.8, ISO 500, 1/100th of a second. This was taken by the Sigma at 200 f2.8, ISO 500, at 1/160th of a second. Alright, this is now a focusing speed test for the Tamron 7200, and first again put it on infinity. Remember, for this lens you gotta move focus ring up and down. Put it on infinity, put autofocus on. This is at 70, again ISO 500, aperture 2.8, and 3, 2. At 200, ISO 500, aperture 2.8, and in 3, 2. Alright, that's how. This is probably the slowest of the three lenses. One thing that I really noticed, the Sigma does seem fairly quiet, but if you can hear this, the Tamron, you hear that very loud autofocusing. Try it. You hear that, it's extremely loud compared to the three lenses. This is a picture taken by the Tamron at 70 f2.8 at 125th of a second at ISO 500. This is a picture at 200 at f2.8 again at 2/100ths of a second at ISO 500. Alright, this is the Canon focusing speed test. Let's be on 70, start at infinity, autofocus is on, and same ISO at 500, aperture 2.8, 3, 2. It's very quiet in comparison to the other lenses. We'll start with, this is at 200, start with it at infinity, autofocus is on, and in 3, 2. That's very fast. This is probably the smoothest, especially because of the USM motor, the ultrasonic motor, and it's probably the quickest of the three. I would say the Sigma is really close to the Canon's focusing speed. And lastly, the Tamron. The Tamron is significantly slower than the other two lenses, and it is the loudest of the three. This was shot with the Canon at 70 f2.8 by ISO 500 at a 60th of a second. This was taken by the Canon at 200 f2.8, ISO 500 at a 30th of a second. Alright, now we're gonna compare the lens hits. Alright, we'll start with the Tamron. Alright, first Tamron, the shape, generally all the shapes are generally the same. Two big pieces, and the sides are their smaller cut places. Comparison to the Sigma and the Tamron from the three, let's try to get a better view here. Tamron from the three does have the longest portion here, and the inner part is this riveted, this kind of bumpy, grooved plastic, and this is due to help unwanted light. If it was flat, it would be more likely for the light to bounce and go into the lens and eventually your sensor, and possibly ruin a photo. However, these bumps help the light from bounce the light in different directions, so it doesn't, hopefully it doesn't go into your lens and into your sensor. And also on the Sigma, again, Sigma has this rubbery material, and again this is a little smaller, and this one also has the same type of grooves or bumps. Let's see, and this is also to prevent, you know, that light from going into your sensor, possibly ruining your shot. And lastly, Canon. The Canon one is the sides do seem to be a little higher, if you get what I'm saying. See comparison to Tamron, comparison to the Sigma. And the biggest difference between the Canon and the Tamron and the Sigma lens hoods would be the inner part of the lens hood. The inner part of the lens hood on the Canon does have this felt material, so it's better when it's better from stopping the reflection or light bouncing into the lens, which could possibly ruin your photo. So
that's my review of the Canon, Sigma, and Tamron lenses. I remember I was trying to more focus on the exterior and build quality of these lenses, so I hope this gave you a better understanding of how the lenses are, and thanks for watching.